So in our last video, we created a project and started building our first part file for that project. And the point we left off was checking to make sure our part file was saved in the correct folder. And so let's pick up where we left off. So if you don't already have that random extrusion file open, go ahead and open it. And let's add to this file. And the first thing we need to do is start a new sketch. And so I'm going to click on this pencil start new sketch button. And this time I want to place it on our top plane. And if you notice, we can't see it now that we've already created something. Well, we can open it up by clicking on our origin. And we can find our top plane. So our YZ plane is obviously parallel to our right view cube. Our XZ plane is our top view. And so I'm going to click on this XZ plane to start a new sketch on our top view. And if you did it right, you should be in your sketch tab. You should see this finish sketch option. Don't click on that yet. And you should see the word top on your view cube. And if it's sideways like this, go ahead and click on this rotation to move it around. And let's go to this top left corner again. So I'm going to click my scroll wheel in and move it over. And let's draw some different shapes. This time I want to click on my line tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag, but I'm going to let go of click. I don't hold click when I use my line tool. I click, let go, drag my mouse, and then I click a second time. Now you'll notice off that dot is another line. Again, I'm not holding click. As soon as I click, I let go and I drag my mouse. I click and let go, drag my mouse to where I want it, click again, let go, drag my mouse, and I'm going to finish the shape off. And how do you know if you finished your shape? How do you know if you lock it in place? Well, you'll see a green dot. And so if I lock it onto a different point, it'll create that green dot to say, hey, this is an exact point. Go ahead and click here. You want to make sure you have that green dot before you click your last time. And so now we have some new shape. And so to exit this, I can right click and hit OK or cancel, or of course I can hit escape on my keyboard. And once I exit my line tool, I can click and drag and move this shape around a little bit. I can change its size and its dimensions and features. And so real quick, let's click on our line tool again. This time when you put your line tool down, when you click, I want you to hold your click before you drag, and I want you to see what happens. You can see if I hold the click as I drag, if I don't let go when I drag the second line, it creates some arc. And that might be beneficial if I want it, but if I don't want it, you can see how it can cause problems. And so this is why it's important to let go of click whenever you drag. And so I want you to try and create that. And then on this last one, I'm going to let go of click and drag it over and finish this shape. And let's add a couple more shapes. Let's click on our line tool again. And this time, let's just draw a horizontal line. But then I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard. And I'm going to find my 3-point arc tool, this arc tool right here. And there are multiple types. Make sure you select the 3-point arc tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the left side of my line and make sure I get that green dot. And I'm going to click on it. I'm going to let go of click and drag my mouse over all the way to the other side of my line. And I'm going to make sure I have that green dot and click again. And then I'm going to drag my mouse up and click one more time, and you can see what we created. We created an arc on the sides of this line. And actually, let's play with this 3-point arc tool a little bit more. Let's click our mouse wheel in and move the screen over. We can zoom out a little bit. And let's just draw something with just our arc tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag and click again, and then drag and create that first arc. And then I'm going to click there and drag and click again and draw this second arc. And then I can find that end, make sure I get that green dot. I want to click, drag to some random place and drag again, and then click. And then let's do it one more time. Let's connect these two. I'm going to click, make sure I get that green dot before I click, drag it over. And again, you'll see that it kind of magnetizes, but sometimes it doesn't make that green dot. You have to make sure you have that green dot to finish off any shape. And I'm going to drag it in. And it doesn't really matter. You can create whatever shape you want. But I just want you to play with these individual sketching tools. And I'm going to hit right-click OK. And let's actually, before we finish this sketch, let's do one more thing. I want to show you what happens if you don't connect your shapes. So if I click on my line tool, I'm just going to draw a quick triangle, but I'm going to make sure I don't connect my last dot. And then I'm going to right click and hit OK. And let's see what happens if I go to finish sketch. So once I go to finish sketch, I'm going to click my scroll wheel in and move my screen around, zoom out a little bit. And actually I can't really see all of these things, and so what I can do is I can change my view in my view cube. I can click on some other corner of my view cube and you can see it turns it around. I can go to my top view, I can click on my home button to go back to the front. I can just click on this view cube and just drag it in random places. Another option is to go into my navigation bar and click on this hand and then click on my screen and drag it around. You can see how that would move it around as well. So that would replace my clicking my scroll wheel in if you maybe don't have a scroll wheel or you don't like utilizing it. And if you want to practice revolving your view cube around, what you can do is you can click on this button right here and sort of drag around. You can circle it this way, you can circle it within it, you can play around with this however you want. And if I want to exit this tool, I'll just hit escape on my keyboard. And if I want to find my original view again, I can hit the home button. And so you could play around with that a little bit. I can tell you that personally, I prefer to just use the view cube and my scroll wheel to navigate the screen. But these are some extra options that you can utilize if you like. But what I want to do is make sure I'm in my home view and then click on this top left corner over here and look at this from this angle. And then I want to hit the extrude button and I want to extrude my shapes. Now, if I click on all my shapes, you'll see they extrude. But any unfinished shape you cannot select. I cannot click on this triangle. And so if you can't click on one of your shapes, it means you didn't finish it. It's no big deal. Don't stress about it. It just means you didn't connect two green dots. As long as you have at least two shapes extruded from your top view, you're fine. And actually, before we hit OK, what I want you to do is change your distance. Let's make it 1.5. So click in here and type in 1.5 and you can see what happens. It changes how much they grow. What if I change it to 0.5? You can see it makes them shorter. And so it changes the extrusion distance. And so I'm going to hit OK with 0.5. And you'll see the sketch has disappeared and anything within the sketch has disappeared. We're now looking at the 3D model version. And if I want to go back into this sketch, I can just find that second extrusion in my browser over here, and I can go back in and edit this sketch if I want to. And so let's hit the home button on our view cube, and let's look at the difference in our extrusions. You can see the three shapes I drew in my front view sketch extruded forward down and to the left. You can see that my shapes that I drew in my top view of my sketch extruded straight upward. Let's go ahead and demonstrate how it looks when we start sketching from our side view. So let's click Start New Sketch again. Make sure you have your Origin folder open. And let's find our YZ plane. This will be our right view. You know it's correct because it lines up with our right view. And when you select it, you should see your right side view on your view cube. And let's check out a couple more sketching tools in our ribbon. And so let's go below rectangle and let's go down to polygon. Now, you'll see that I can create a 6-sided polygon. If I click and drag and click again, you can see I made a hexagon. If I hit escape on my keyboard, you can see I exit that and I can now play with my hexagon. I can change its size and its location. If I want to go back to my polygon tool, you'll see this top button is the most recent button that I pushed. If I want to go back to rectangle, I can, but I want you to select polygon tool again. And this time I want you to tell it to be a 3-sided polygon. So I'm going to change that number to 3, and I'm going to click, drag, and click again. And then let's change it to a 5-sided polygon, and click, drag, and click again. And then we can right click and hit OK, or we can hit escape on our keyboard, and now we have 3 more shapes. And let's draw one more. Let's go under our circle tool and let's select our ellipse tool. And how this one works is, well, let me move this screen around to find some room for it. And actually, now that I think about it, I think I want to move these shapes over here to the bottom right. So I'm going to draw this ellipse down here at the bottom right. I'm going to click, drag, and click again. This will tell me the width of my ellipse, and I click again, and then I can select the height of my ellipse, and so I can make it as tall as I want, and I'll click a third time. And I'll right click and hit OK, and then I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to click on my scroll wheel, and I actually want to move my shapes, all of them, down here. So I click on it, and I can drag it down. I click on this, I can move it to the side. So you can kind of play with it. Clicking on different things will change different things. Clicking on the center changes the size of the polygon. Clicking on the random sides allows you to move it from up and down or side to side diagonally. It looks like it moves perpendicular to whatever that edge is. And if while you're playing around with it, moving around these shapes, if you screw something up too much, you can always undo the last thing you did just by hitting Control Z on your keyboard. But keep playing with it and try to drag these shapes over to the bottom right. And if it's too hard to see, remember you can zoom in and out and move your screen around with the scroll wheel. And make sure you're clicking on the lines themselves and not these little annoying constraint icons that are popping up. You can see sometimes I'm accidentally grabbing those instead of the actual geometry. It might help to zoom in a little bit. Just mess with it a little bit to move it around. And so you have all three of your shapes down here at this bottom right corner of our origin. And so once you got your shapes where you want it, let's go ahead and hit Finish Sketch. And then I want you to extrude these four shapes. And so we click on our four shapes, and you'll see that it automatically extrudes the last distance that we put in. We can change this distance, or we can click on this orange arrow, click on the end of this orange arrow and drag, and you can see we can drag at the distance that we want. And once you get it about the length you want it, go ahead and hit OK. And so if you were able to extrude these different shapes from these different views, and you understand how to more or less navigate the various tools I showed you in this video, then you just need to make sure you click the Save button to update your file, and then you are done with this video.